So we know this already. He is staying. Carlos Queiroz is staying, which could mean the low block is staying. The heavy concentration on defending could be staying, which could also mean that not a lot will change from the way Ghana played at the World Cup, or could it not? We all know that Queiroz has already, when he took charge of Ghana, the mandate was to get Ghana out of the group. He did that. There was talk of a quarterfinal. He couldn't do that. I know that opinion is sharply divided on what he's brought to the team and whether retaining him is the right idea. I know this based on some of the feedback that I've got from your video, from asking some of you on X and on multiple platforms, and your reaction to some of the video I did breaking the story as a result. And I'm going to walk you through some of the reaction. It's interesting because the post we made asking about the retention of Queiroz and what people thought of it had quite the engagement. Reposted almost 200 times, and like about 118 questions. So many things have gone on. So Kumasi MP, that's his username on X, said, "Bad idea, but I can't do anything." He's asking I should talk about the Black Queens. We'll talk about the Black Queens, but the Black Stars is a subject we can't stop talking about. Alex Freeman says, "Very poor decision. If you fear losing one bad relationship, you may never find a good one. He simply isn't good enough to lead this team, and the signs were there for everyone to see. We saw enough of his decisions and performances at the World Cup. He isn't the coach many of us thought he was, despite his pedigree and experience." He also suggests that the coach is easily influenced, that I don't think without providing any evidence of that, but generally thinks that we are celebrating mediocrity. We are celebrating and settling for mediocrity. Somebody, Ama Commando, says we will be the best defenders on the continent, that's for sure. Will that win us trophies? It's a question mark. George Safu disagrees with a lot of people. He says this is a good thing to do. The coach, if given more time, can build the Black Stars into very good standard. And then MC Rudolph says that's the right decision for Ghana. He knows his job and what to do. I think it's the likes of MC Safu, George Safu, and the rest that the GFA basically agrees with. But there are also a lot of concerns in the other comments about bad decision, about the defending and the rest. That's pretty obvious. Kofi Nunu Mensah says Ghanaians says that he's asking about transparency involving. I think when the coach was introduced, there was talk about his salary being $100,000. There was talk about how many months he was supposed to stay. It was 4 months. There was talk of the standards. I'll be interested to see what exactly what Mr. Nunu Mensah reckons is the transparency that the body needs to provide. But the bottom line is that Queiroz will stay. Here's a chain of how these things have happened. I do think that when Queiroz came out to issue that statement that a lot of journalists and a lot of media houses, both Ghana and worldwide, assumed was a departure statement, I thought it was a way of feeling us out. It was a way of finding whether we were still in love with him, whether we would go with him. It was a way of trying to check the pulse of the nation. I'm not sure what the pulse of the nation said. The pulse of leadership, though, says that given how much time there is for Ghana to play in the Nations Cup qualifiers, and given everything they saw of Ghana at the World Cup, the progress from the group stage into the next round, the solid defensive base, and the rest, that they believe that Queiroz can build on this and return Ghana to the Nations Cup, which the Black Stars didn't qualify for the last time, and be competitive at the Nations Cup. Everything is a gamble. I would imagine that if Queiroz was not a conversation, then Hervé Renard would have been the conversation. That is always a conversation in Ghana football. I think those who don't find Queiroz to be their cup of tea for the Black Stars will say very simply that the football has not been great, that he has had a fear of attacking football almost that does not sit well, and that when you watch the Black Stars at the World Cup, there were points when it looked like watching paint dry. Basically, that it was boring. But they got results. They beat Panama. Right, the Black Stars beat Panama by a 1-0. The Black Stars drew against England. The Black Stars targeted effectively 4 points to be able to step out of the group, and they got that. The biggest disappointment from some of Queiroz's strongest backers, including myself, was that the game against Colombia was such a drag. It was so boring. It was bad to watch. It was a lack of effort. It was a team effort that disintegrated badly because one player who had actually just played 3 or 4 matches with the national team, Marvin Senaya, was unavailable. It badly exposed the lack of depth in defense in the Ghana team on the right side. And maybe that was one of the few times Otuado was right. There were not a lot of right backs in the team. But the lack of depth is not an argument you could make for the centre-back options, where Jonas Ajite and Jerome Opoku filled in the absence of Salisu and Jiku brilliantly. And at left back, I thought Gideon Mensah was brilliant throughout the tournament. So the problem for Ghana was not in defense. I think it says a lot about how we set up and the way we played, that our best players used to be were the guys who played at the back. The centre-back pairing, the left back, the right back, the goalkeeper, whichever goalkeeper came in seemed to be pretty solid, and I loved the look of that. But it was going forward that the problem was. Sibu did what Sibu had to do, but there was not a lot of creativity in that team. Partey was great. Caleb Irinchi was all right in the tournament. So the central midfielders were good, I thought. But it was going forward, we were just, I don't know whether it was because the whole team was set up in a certain way where the wingers, the forward liners had to spend so much time doing the low block thing, providing shield for the opponents, falling back to defend and the rest, that we never saw Ghana in a positive attacking sense. The number of shots on targets and the rest was not good. We were never able to release Antoine Semenyo, and that's a major problem going forward, whether we like it or not. When we brought in the likes of Kamaldeen Sulemana, Fatawi Seaku, once in a while the impact looked good, but it was never sustained. That was never good enough. And Queiroz seemed to have a fear of trying the youngsters. So for instance, Augustin Boache and Christopher Bonsuba, 2 players who had good assist numbers in the French top flight and the French second division and in the Saudi league. Both didn't get any minutes. Brandon Thomas Asante did brilliant when he came on against Panama. He was positive. His drive was infectious. He set up a goal and then he never quite played again. So I think that for things to change, we must ask of Queiroz a few things. A few important things. One, that the attacking needs to become a million miles better. But can the attacking become a million miles better with the products available to him? At the World Cup, Queiroz seemed to be holding to experience, especially in Jordan Ayew. And even when there were moments and elements within a game that suggested that was not a good decision, he stuck by it. My hope is that this is not a sign of a player who is more beholden, a coach who is more beholden to experience than the actual needs of the team. And maybe in failing to give the youngsters a bit more opportunity, I really want that in Queiroz's extension, he understands that freeing the youngsters could be the way forward. Ghana has tried Inaki. Ghana has done a lot with Jordan. Ghana has done a lot with the trusted players, and we always use that experience because even at this World Cup, the likes of Fatau, the likes of Kamaldeen were players who have been around for a very long time. Semenyo played at the last World Cup. Inaki did and all that. and still they didn't reflect. So maybe it's time to free the youth, free the youngsters, give them a bit more say in an attacking sense in this team. Because when you think of it, if Queiroz's football depends on disciplined people tracking back, doing the right thing, the youngsters with energy can do that. So I think that's an important point. But the other bigger picture is some people will ask, does Ghana have any quality of players to be able to improve the attacking third? That will be part of Queiroz's job. And I like something my friend Anakuti Mensah sent me. He said that he thinks Queiroz has defended a defensive set of players and that he needs to scout both local and international to find the right players forward to complement the solid back. He says the scouting should not be influenced by GFA executives so that there is no element of selfishness in this. Otherwise, Putin fears that Queiroz will not take us anywhere. So I think that a few things that we do know is that, for instance, by the time the Nations Cup qualifiers come around in September, there could be news on the availability of Edin Ketia, for instance. He will become a key member of this Black Star side, I think. There's still conversations around Callum Hudson-Odoi. And part of Queiroz's job is to do what Otto Addo, Siki Akono did. Siki Akono brought us Alexander Jiku. Otto discovered very good players as well for the Black Stars. And built on that system well. We don't need only B-list second-rated diasporan Ghanaians. We are due 1, 2, 3 big fishes who come into the team, and like Kevin Prince Boateng did in 2010, made this team considerably better. So we need to spend so much time in the scouting department to get forward liners who change our thinking, but also to give the present ones, and I keep mentioning Bosuba, Brandon Asante, Augustine Boachi, anyone's available in Europe, a bit more flexibility to operate. Because like Kutin said, the defense looks solid. The midfield is not bad, even though there will be long-term conversations to be had about multiple players. But going forward, we've not looked great. We've not looked great at all. And that will be something that Queiroz must solve with all the intensity in him. My understanding that it was that when he met, when there were discussions were ongoing, he said that, look, within the short period of time, he needed a workable solution that got Ghana out of the group. But that as the team works more and more, they will become better in an attacking sense and everything. I really hope that happens. I really hope that he begins to trust youngsters a bit more. I really hope that he's not beholden to experience and decides that once somebody has XYZ number of caps for Ghana, they must start games at all costs. And I really hope that he creates the right tension in camp by making it a lot more competitive. He will almost got stuck on the experienced players and the rest in this tournament, even when it was obvious that in an attacking sense, they were not giving Ghana any great value. And that, my friend Queiroz, has got to change. So he will stay. If we don't like the quality of football, we'll say it. We will not stop saying it. And ultimately, I hope that the Black Stars become a million miles better than it looks. Because at the moment, I've got to be honest with you, we may have qualified for the round of 32 of the World Cup. But the football was not great. And not many of us will be taking we'll be sitting back to watch many of the games that happen in the tournament, like we would have done of a Ghana versus South Korea in 2022, or a Ghana versus USA in 2010, or a Ghana versus Serbia, or a Ghana versus Czech Republic, or a Ghana versus USA in 2006. It was Majid Ashimiru who told me that, Majid Waris who told me that history never remembers how you play, it remembers who won. So we will remember that we won against Panama, but we would also remember that whilst we drew against England, we were not great, that we were lethargic against Colombia, that we were never really, even against Panama, we were never really at the races in terms of the way we played. Because against teams like Panama, we've got to do better. The Nations Cup qualifiers will have Somalia. I think there's Ivory Coast, and it begins in September. Will Ghana live in fear, or Ghana will play with the shackles of Ivory Coast, Gambia, Somalia? 2 teams will qualify for the Nations Cup. The Ivory Coast will be the big one. The Gambia are in there, Somalia are in there. How Queiroz approaches this will be important, because at the Accra Sports Stadium or the Baba Yara Stadium, if the Blasters sit in low block, we will lose the fans. And that always is a bad thing.